child emotional disorders and how they affect how your children learn and just like their life in general. So as a child, my mom would say I was crazy. I had very high anxiety levels and social stress. So I had to go to the Children's Hospital in Austin once a month to talk to a psychiatrist and figure out why I was so crazy. I basically was very happy and social and active at home, and at school I would freeze up and get super anxious and not be able to talk or like do anything because I was so nervous. So that's why I wanted to do this talk, so we could explore like why these things happen. In my research, I found that 10–15% of children globally suffer from emotional disorders. So that includes ADHD, anxiety, bipolarism, all sorts of things. And it's really easy to identify because they either aren't social at school or they have difficulties learning. So this can lead to like more severe forms of dyslexia. So it doesn't like lead to dyslexia, but it can make it worse. Inappropriate behavior or feelings, children tend to act out when they can't express themselves. So they'll decide not to do something the teacher says. They'll like cry in the corner or hit other children because they don't know how to express their emotions because their mental pathways are blocked by the fear and the anxiety they have. There's fear associated with personal or school problems. So sometimes, like I know when I was a child, I didn't want to go to school because I was scared of what my friends would think of me and what would happen if I didn't get good grades. And that anxiety just like builds up until you figure out a way to cope with it. And it's also a lot bigger of a problem now because of the bullying epidemic that's affecting our schools. So a lot of children get bullied, like whether it's verbal, physical, or like cyberbullying, and there's not much that parents and teachers are doing to stop it. I know there's a lot of movies and things about it right now, but it's really hard to combat it when you're not at that same level as the children. So, there are many things people can do to help. One of them is just become aware of emotional disorders. So knowing that there's a difference between ADHD and like not being able to socially handle the social problems that a child is having, and just teaching teachers how to deal with that in schools will help a lot. Like I know my mom would go in every school year until I was a sophomore in high school, which is really embarrassing, and talk to my teachers and be like, hey, sometimes Catherine just needs to like go out and like get a drink and come back and she'll be fine. And that's a really good way because like I know I still get very overwhelmed and I have to like go outside and take a drink of water. Drink and like count to 10 and then go back in and I'm fine. But it's just like the ways that everyone has to cope with it is very different. Like my friend, she's severely ADHD and depressed now, which is a lot to deal with. But she has to she's a stress ball and she always squeezes it when she's stressed, and it's a little obsessive, but it works for her. So it's just how people deal with it. One thing that my teacher taught my whole class when I was in 2nd grade was how to redirect our anger and attention if we get upset. So instead of kicking each other, we would, what would we do? She had stuffed animals that we would go into the corner and hit, which I don't know if you should teach your children to hit things, but it worked. We weren't hitting each other. And so redirecting that anger or finding new ways to cope with it helps a lot. The best way to get your child to either grow out of it or be able to manage it better is to support them in other things they do. So I like to do artistic things. I sing and I dance and all this nonsense. So my mom really supported me in that, and that helped my schoolwork because I had to be able to have good grades to go on competitions and things like that. So being able to support children when they need that support will encourage them to do better in school and just in life in general. And that's it. I'm going to end on a quote. It says, children are the world's most valuable resource and its best future. And that's a JFK quote. And I think he's a cool person.
Yes. What types of things do you think that because you said that you were impacted by things that your teachers had taught you and how to redirect your emotions, but do you think that there are other methods that teachers and in the schools that they can like provide kids to do? Because personally, like I don't see, like the reason it is a problem is because I think a lot of teachers aren't like recognizing that and they're like looking over it. So like what kind of methods do you think that they can use to try to give kids the tools they need?
I think it'd be really good if like all teachers were given some sort of like seminar at the beginning of school about emotional disorders and like not just like labeling children as ADHD or like depressed or something like that, because if you're able to tell the difference between the different kinds of disorders, it really helps. Like I was an education major before this, so we learned like the different steps to getting a child like clinically diagnosed as something, and it's like a whole long process. You have to have like 6 meetings. And so if a teacher can just have like a safe space in the classroom, like whether it's the library area or just like, oh, you can go sit in the hallway for 5 minutes and come back, like if they know like there's other ways than just like saying, oh, he's ADHD, there's nothing I can do about him, then I think that will help a lot.